The stars stretched endlessly outside the viewport of the USS Thunderbolt. Captain Jack Reed stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the darkness of space. The ship, Earth's newest and most advanced warship, cut through the void, with barely a whisper. "Status report," Jack said, his voice calm but commanding. Commander Lisa Wells looked up from her console. "All systems normal, Captain. We're at the edge of human space now. This is where the colony ships disappeared." Jack nodded. 6 ships gone in the last 3 months. No distress calls, no debris, just gone. The Thunderbolt had been sent to find answers, but so far they had found only silence. "Dr. Gray, anything on your sensors?" Jack asked. Dr. Alan Gray, the ship's chief scientist, shook his head. His fingers danced across his screen. "Nothing unusual, Captain, but there's a lot of space to cover." "Keep looking," Jack ordered. He turned to his chief engineer. "Stone, how's our new engine holding up?" Mike Stone grunted. The gruff engineer rarely used 2 words when one would do. "Good. Better than expected." Jack allowed himself a small smile. The Thunderbolt was a marvel of human engineering. Its weapons, shields and engines were years ahead of anything else in the fleet. If something was hunting colony ships out here, they were ready for it. "Captain," Lisa said suddenly, her voice sharp. "Sensors picking up multiple objects approaching, not ours." Jack straightened. "Show me." The main screen flickered to life. A dozen ships, sleek and alien, moved in perfect formation toward Earth territory. "First contact," Dr. Gray whispered, eyes wide with excitement. "Or first battle," Lisa countered, her hand hovering over the weapons controls. Jack raised a hand. "Hold. Let's see what they want first." The alien fleet stopped just outside weapons range. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, a signal came through. "They're hailing us," Lisa reported. "Put them on," Jack ordered. The screen changed to show a humanoid figure. It had gray-blue skin, large eyes, and no visible nose. When it spoke, its mouth moved strangely, but the words came through clearly in English. "Greetings, Earth vessel. I am Fleet Commander Dax of the Vorax Hegemony. You have entered space of interest to us." Jack stepped forward. "I am Captain Jack Reed of the USS Thunderbolt. We are investigating the disappearance of several human ships in this region." The alien's expression didn't change. "We know of no disappeared ships, but we would like to scan your vessel. This is standard protocol when we encounter new species." Lisa muted the transmission. "Captain, I don't recommend allowing that. They could gather tactical information." Mike nodded in agreement. "Bad idea." Jack considered for a moment. "Dr. Gray?" The scientist looked thoughtful. "It could be a genuine cultural practice, and we might learn something about them from how they scan us." Jack unmuted the transmission. "We will permit a basic scan, Commander Dax, as a gesture of goodwill." "Wise decision," Dax replied. Jack turned to Mike. "Activate Defense Protocol 7. Mike nodded and began typing rapidly. Protocol 7 would allow the scan, but feed back carefully selected information. Nothing classified would be revealed, but nothing obviously hidden either. It was a delicate balance. "Ready, Captain," Mike reported. "You may begin your scan, Commander Dax," Jack said. A soft blue light washed over the bridge as the alien scan penetrated the ship. It lasted 30 seconds, then stopped. On the screen, Commander Dax's expression changed. His large eyes widened even further. His mouth opened slightly. For a moment he seemed unable to speak. "Is something wrong?" Jack asked. Dax snapped out of his shock. "No, nothing is wrong. Scan complete. Thank you for your cooperation." Before Jack could respond, the transmission cut off. The alien fleet immediately began to move away at high speed. "They're running," Lisa said in disbelief. Jack frowned. "Why? What did they see?" Mike was checking his systems. Protocol 7 worked perfectly. They shouldn't have seen anything too interesting. Dr. Gray was studying his readings. "Captain, their scan was much more powerful than it should have been. It got through some of our defenses." "How much did they see?" Jack demanded. "I'm not sure," Dr. Gray admitted. but more than we wanted them to. Lisa looked at Jack. Orders, Captain? Jack stared at the retreating alien fleet. Something about their reaction bothered him. Fear. That's what he had seen on Commander Dax's face, but fear of what? Follow them, he decided. Keep your distance, but don't lose them. Aye, Captain, Lisa replied, setting the course. For 3 days, the Thunderbolt followed the alien ships deeper into unknown space. The Vorax fleet maintained their hurried pace, occasionally changing course but never attempting to confront their pursuer. On the 4th day, they reached a densely packed star cluster. The Vorax ships split up, heading for different worlds. Which one do we follow? Lisa asked. Jack studied the sensor data. The biggest one, Commander Dax's ship. The Thunderbolt shadowed Dax's vessel to a large blue-green planet. The alien ship descended to the surface while the Thunderbolt remained in high orbit. Scan the planet, Jack ordered. Dr. Gray worked his instruments. Massive civilization, Captain. Cities covering entire continents. Technology level appears similar to ours, maybe higher in some areas. Any signs they've detected us? Jack asked. Lisa shook her head. None. Their orbital defenses haven't activated. Jack turned to Mike. I want the stealth systems at maximum. Let's see what's happening down there. Mike nodded and got to work. Dr. Gray suddenly looked up from his console. Captain, I'm picking up unusual communications traffic. Massive amounts of data being transmitted across the planet. Can you decode any of it? Jack asked. Working on it, Dr. Gray replied. After several minutes, he looked up with a troubled expression. It's fragmentary, but I'm seeing references to human technology, unexpected capabilities, and something that translates roughly as existential threat. Jack's eyes narrowed. They're afraid of us. But why? Lisa asked. We didn't threaten them. They saw something in our ship that scared them, Jack said. Something they didn't expect. Mike grunted. Serves them right for looking where they shouldn't. Dr. Gray continued monitoring the communications. Captain, I think they're calling some kind of emergency meeting. Important figures from across their territory are being summoned to the capital city. Jack nodded slowly. So they scan us, get scared, and call a meeting of their leaders. Interesting. What's our next move? Lisa asked. Jack thought for a moment. We stay and watch, we learn, and we prepare. He turned to look at his crew. Something tells me this isn't over. The Vorax ran today, but they won't run forever. Whatever they saw in us frightened them enough to retreat, but fear can lead to different responses. Like what? Dr. Gray asked. Like trying to make friends with what you fear, Jack said. Or trying to destroy it before it destroys you. Lisa nodded grimly. So we wait and see which path they choose. Exactly, Jack said, turning back to the viewport to stare down at the alien world below. And either way we'll be ready. In the Vorax capital city, Commander Dax stood before the Supreme Council, his hands shaking slightly as he prepared to show them what the scan had revealed about the human vessel. Information that had made him order an immediate retreat. Information that would change everything. The Supreme Leader entered, and the room fell silent. Show us, the leader commanded. Show us what has you so afraid of these humans. Dax nodded and activated the display. The detailed scans of the USS Thunderbolt appeared, revealing secrets that would keep the Vorax leaders awake for many nights to come. The Grand Council chamber on Voros Prime fell silent as the scan data of the human warship filled the massive display screen. Supreme Leader Tark leaned forward on his throne, his gray-blue skin turning a shade paler. This cannot be correct, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Commander Dax stood tall despite his fear. The scan was thorough, Supreme Leader. The data is accurate. Science Director Elka moved closer to the display, her expert eyes analyzing every detail. The human vessel's power readings are impossible. Their shield technology is beyond anything we have seen before. How? Tark demanded. We have conquered 7 species across this sector, None have technology that comes close to ours. Elka pointed to a section of the scan. Look here. They're weapon systems. They use principles we've never even considered. And here, she swiped to another image. Their engine core. It's completely different from our approach. The council members murmured among themselves. For centuries, the Vorax had ruled through technological superiority. They had never faced a species with more advanced technology. Tark turned to Commander Dax. You fled from a single ship? Dax straightened his shoulders. Supreme Leader, our scans indicated that this single ship could have destroyed our entire fleet. It was the logical choice. Logical, perhaps. But now they know we exist, and they know we're afraid. Tark said coldly. He rose from his throne and walked to the window overlooking the capital city. Towers of gleaming metal stretched to the sky, a testament to Vorax achievement. 7 conquered worlds supplied resources and labor to make it all possible. How did they advance so quickly? Tark asked. Our last intelligence from that sector showed primitive technology. That information is nearly 50 years old, Elka pointed out. We've been focused on consolidating our current territories. Tark nodded slowly. A mistake. One that could cost us everything. He turned back to face the council. Show me the images of the human crew. The screen changed to show Captain Jack Reed on the bridge of the Thunderbolt. Additional images showed other crew members at their stations. They look so ordinary, one council member commented. That is what makes them dangerous, Tark replied. They appear weak, but they have built something that threatens our entire way of life. Commander Dax cleared his throat. What are your orders, Supreme Leader? Tark was silent for a long moment. Are they still in orbit? Yes, Dax confirmed. Observing us. They think we haven't detected them, but our deep space sensors can track their position. Tark smiled for the first time. Good. At least we have that advantage. He paced the length of the chamber, thinking. We need time. Time to understand their technology. Time to develop countermeasures. And if they attack? Another council member asked. They won't, Tark said confidently. Not yet. They're curious. They want to know why we ran. We can use that curiosity. He turned to Elka. How long would you need to study their technology if you had full access to their ship? The science director considered. Months, at minimum. Their approach is so different from ours. Tark nodded. Then we must gain that time. He faced the council. We will extend the hand of friendship to these humans, offer them trade, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation. Commander Dax looked shocked. Supreme Leader, are you suggesting an alliance with these humans? Of course not, Tark snapped. It is merely a tactic. While our diplomats talk of peace and cooperation, our scientists will study their technology. Once we understand it, we can neutralize their advantage. Elka appeared troubled. Supreme Leader, what if we cannot match their technology quickly enough? Tark's expression hardened. Then we must find other ways to defeat them. Every species has weaknesses. Perhaps humans rely too much on their technology. Perhaps they lack the will to use it effectively. We will find their weakness and we will exploit it. He walked back to his throne and sat down. Prepare a diplomatic message. Invite the human ship to send representatives to neutral space for talks. Make it sound sincere. What if they refuse? Dax asked. They won't, Tark said. They are curious, and curiosity is a dangerous weakness. They will come. Back on the Thunderbolt, Dr. Gray was the first to notice the incoming transmission. Captain, we're receiving a message from the planet's surface. Jack looked up from the report he was reading. Put it on screen. The face of Supreme Leader Tark appeared. His expression was friendly, open. Greetings, Captain Reed of Earth. I am Supreme Leader Tark of the Vorax Hegemony. I wish to apologize for Commander Dax's abrupt departure during our first meeting. There was a misunderstanding. Jack's expression revealed nothing. No apology. Needed, Supreme Leader. We were simply concerned when your ships left so suddenly. Tark smiled. A regrettable error in protocol. We would like to make amends by inviting you to a diplomatic meeting. A chance for our peoples to learn about each other. Lisa, standing next to Jack, whispered, I don't trust this. Jack gave a slight nod to show he heard her. To Tark, he said, that's a generous offer. Where would this meeting take place? There is a space station called Harmony Point in a nearby system. It is neutral territory, used by various species for trade and diplomacy. Would that be acceptable? Jack pretended to consider. It could be. I would need to consult with my superiors. Tark's smile didn't waver. Of course, take all the time you need. We are eager to establish friendly relations with Earth. After the transmission ended, Jack turned to his crew. Thoughts? Mike spoke first. Trap. Lisa nodded in agreement. Definitely. They were terrified of us yesterday. Now they want to be friends? I don't buy it. Dr. Gray looked thoughtful. It could be genuine. Perhaps they realized their initial fear was exaggerated. Jack walked to the viewport, looking down at the alien world. No. Lisa and Mike are right. This is a trap, but not the kind we might expect. What do you mean? Lisa asked. They're not planning to attack us at this meeting, Jack explained. They want to study us, learn about our technology, find our weaknesses. Doctor, Gray nodded slowly. That makes sense. From what we've observed, the Vorax base their entire civilization on technological superiority. Our ship frightened them because it suggested we might be more advanced. So what do we do? Lisa asked. Refuse the meeting? Jack turned back to face them, a small smile forming on his lips. No. We accept. Mike grunted in surprise. Why? Because it works both ways, Jack said. While they're studying us, we'll be studying them, and we have an advantage they don't know about. What's that? Dr. Gray asked. Jack's smile grew wider. They only think they detected us in orbit. They don't know about our second stealth shuttle that landed on the far side of their planet last night. Lisa's eyes widened. You sent a team to the surface? When? While you were all sleeping, Jack said. A small team, hand-picked. They're gathering intelligence even as we speak. That's why you seemed so calm about being detected, Dr. Gray realized. Jack nodded. The Vorax think they're one step ahead of us. Let's keep them thinking that. He turned to Lisa. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them everything we've learned and our plan to accept the diplomatic meeting. And the shuttle team? Lisa asked. They'll continue their mission and meet us at Harmony Point, Jack said. By then we should know much more about what we're dealing with. Mike nodded with grudging approval. Clever. Let's just hope it's clever enough, Jack said, his expression turning serious again. Because something tells me the Vorax didn't build their empire by playing nice. On the planet below, Supreme Leader Tark watched the human warship with calculating eyes. They will accept, he told Commander Dax. And when they do, their doom will be sealed. Little did he know that at that very moment human eyes were watching him from much closer than he could imagine. Harmony Point space station hung in the darkness like a giant metal snowflake. Ships from different worlds docked at its many arms. At one end, the USS Thunderbolt waited. At the opposite end, the Vorax diplomatic vessel had arrived 3 days earlier. Ambassador Tom Williams adjusted his formal uniform as he prepared to meet the Vorax representatives. Captain Jack Reed stood nearby, watching the ambassador with careful eyes. Remember, Jack said quietly, they want something from us. Don't be too eager to give it. Tom nodded. He was an experienced diplomat with gray hair and calm eyes. This isn't my first dance with aliens who have hidden motives, Captain. Security Chief Kate Miller checked her tablet one more time. My team is in position throughout the station. If the Vorax try anything, we'll know. The door to the meeting room slid open. 3 Vorax entered, led by a tall figure in flowing robes. Ambassador Williams, Captain Reed. The lead Vorax said smoothly, I am Diplomat Zeal. Supreme Leader Tark sends his warmest greetings. Tom stepped forward with a practiced smile. The pleasure is ours, Diplomat Zeal. Earth looks forward to establishing friendly relations with the Vorax hegemony. They all sat at a large round table, Servers brought drinks and food suitable for both species. "I must say," Zeal began, "we are most impressed by your vessel, the Thunderbolt. Such advanced technology in a species we had not yet encountered." Jack kept his face neutral. "We're equally interested in learning about Vorax achievements. Your empire spans several star systems, I understand?" A flash of surprise crossed Zeal's face before he could hide it. "You are well informed, Captain." "We try to be," Jack replied. For the next 2 hours, they discussed trade possibilities, cultural exchanges, and scientific cooperation. The Vorax seemed especially interested in joint research projects involving Earth's propulsion and shield technology. "Perhaps a tour of your vessel might help us understand how we could best work together," Zeal suggested casually. Tom smiled. "A wonderful idea, and we would be honored to tour your ships as well." Zeal's smile flickered. "Of course, though our vessels are currently undergoing maintenance." "What a shame," Jack said. "Another time, perhaps." When the meeting ended, Kate approached Jack as the Vorax left the room. "One of my team spotted a Vorax technician near the Thunderbolt's docking port," she reported quietly. "He claimed to be checking station systems, but the station manager confirmed no such checks were scheduled." Jack nodded. "They're getting impatient. Have Mike double the security on all ship systems." "Already done," Kate said. "And our special package?" "Being delivered as we speak," Jack replied with a small smile. On the Vorax side of the station, Diplomat Zeal met with a technician in a secure room. "Did you get access to their ship?" Zeal demanded. The technician shook his head. "Impossible. Their security's too tight, but I placed scanning devices nearby. We're getting some readings." "Not enough," Zeal hissed. "Supreme Leader Tark wants their technology. The diplomatic approach is taking too long." "There is another way," the technician suggested. "We've identified their chief engineer. He often visits the station's bar after his shift, perhaps with the right conversation and the right drinks." Zeal smiled. "Yes, make it happen." Mike Stone sat at the bar, enjoying a rare moment away from the ship. The colorful drink in front of him was his third of the evening. A Vorax sat down beside him. "You are from the Earth ship, yes? An engineer, I believe." Mike looked at the alien through narrowed eyes. "Who's asking?" "Just a fellow engineer," the Vorax said, ordering a drink. "I'm fascinated by different approaches to similar problems. Your ship's design is intriguing." Mike grunted. "Is it now?" "Yes," the Vorax continued. "Especially your propulsion system. We've never seen anything quite like it." Mike took another drink. "Bet you haven't." "Perhaps we could discuss some technical details?" Engineer to engineer, Mike laughed suddenly. "Sure. Let me tell you all about our special warp coils. They're made from a rare material. We call it bullshit." The Vorax looked confused. "Bullshit? I'm not familiar with this material." Mike stood up, surprisingly steady for a man who'd had 3 drinks. "It means I know what you're doing and it's not working. Good night." He walked away, leaving the frustrated Vorax at the bar. In his quarters, Dr. Gray worked late into the night. The data from the stealth team on the Vorax homeworld had been revealing. He compiled his findings and sent them to Captain Reed's secure tablet. Minutes later, Jack appeared at his door. "This confirms our suspicions," Jack said, holding up the tablet. "The Vorax have conquered 7 other species by leveraging technological superiority." Dr. Gray nodded. "And each conquered species is essentially enslaved, forced to provide resources and labor to the hegemony." Jack's expression darkened. "No wonder they were so frightened by our ship. We're the first potential threat to their way of life." "There's more," Dr. Gray said. "According to the data, their fleet is mobilizing. Despite these peace talks, they're preparing for war." Jack wasn't surprised. "How long do we have?" "A week, maybe less." Jack nodded. "Then we need to move to the next phase of our plan." Ambassador Tom met with Diplomat Zeal the next day. The Vorax seemed tense. "We have prepared a draft agreement," Tom said, sliding a tablet across the table. A starting point for our future relationship. Zeal glanced at it. This is generous. Earth believes in fair dealings, Tom replied. Zeal forced a smile. We will review it carefully, but perhaps we could speed things along by beginning the technology exchange immediately. A show of good faith. Tom looked thoughtful. Actually, Captain Reed has authorized me to share some technical data as a gesture of trust. Zeal couldn't hide his excitement. That is excellent news. Tom handed over a data crystal. Basic schematics for our shield modulation system. Nothing classified, but it should demonstrate our willingness to work together. Zeal took the crystal carefully. The hegemony appreciates this gesture. We will prepare something similar to share with you. After the meeting, Zeal rushed to a secure room where Science Director Elka waited. We have it, Zeal said triumphantly, handing over the crystal. The humans are more trusting than we anticipated. Elka inserted the crystal into a reader. Her eyes widened as she studied the schematics. This is remarkable, simple yet elegant. Our engineers can adapt this to our systems quickly. How soon? Zeal asked. Days, not weeks, Elka replied. With this, we might not need to wait for the full fleet to arrive. Excellent, Zeal said. Inform Supreme Leader Tark. The humans have given us exactly what we needed. Back on the Thunderbolt, Jack met with Tom in his private quarters. Did they take the bait? Jack asked. Tom smiled. Like a hungry fish, Zeal could barely contain himself. Good, Jack said. And they don't suspect? Not at all. The schematics look completely authentic. Jack nodded with satisfaction. Mike did. Excellent work. The shield modifications they're studying will seem to work perfectly in simulations. But in actual combat? Tom asked. Jack's smile was cold. They'll fail catastrophically at the worst possible moment. By the time they realize what we've done, it will be too late. Outside the viewport, the space station turned slowly. Both sides prepared for what was coming, each believing they had the upper hand, but only one side was right. The alarm blared throughout the Thunderbolt, waking Captain Jack Reed from a light sleep. He was dressed and on the bridge in less than 2 minutes. Report, he commanded, taking his seat. Lisa looked up from her console. Vorax fleet detected. Captain, 30 ships approaching from multiple vectors. They've dropped all pretense of diplomacy. Jack nodded. He had expected this. The Vorax had studied the false shield schematics for 3 days. Their confidence must be high now. Battle stations, he ordered calmly. Where's Ambassador Williams? Already returned to the Thunderbolt, sir, Kate Miller reported. The Vorax. Delegation left Harmony Point 6 hours ago without notice. And our other ships? Lisa checked her screen. The Aurora and the Phoenix are in position but hidden. The Vorax don't know they're there. Jack allowed himself a small smile. Earth had sent reinforcements but kept them concealed. The Vorax thought they were facing only the Thunderbolt. Open a channel to the Vorax fleet, Jack ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing Supreme Leader Tark himself. He sat on what looked like a command throne on the bridge of his flagship. Captain Reed, Tark said, his voice cold. Your deception ends today. Jack raised an eyebrow. Deception? We came in peace. You were the ones preparing for war while talking of friendship. Tark smiled. A necessary precaution. Your kind represents a threat to the natural order. Your technology must not be allowed to spread. And what natural order is that? Jack asked. The one where the Vorax rule over 7 enslaved species. Tark's smile vanished. You know too much. It is fortunate we will not need to negotiate your surrender. We already have what we need from you. The transmission ended abruptly. They're powering weapons, Lisa reported, her voice steady despite the tension. Jack leaned forward in his chair. All crew, prepare for combat. Defense Protocol Omega now in effect. Throughout the ship, crew members activated special systems that had been hidden until this moment. The Thunderbolt's power signature began to change. Mike's voice came over the comm from engineering. "Ready down here, Captain. They're in for a surprise." "Good," Jack replied. "Hold steady. Let them make the first move." The Vorax didn't wait long. Their lead ships opened fire, energy beams streaking across space toward the Thunderbolt. "Impact in 3 seconds," Lisa called out. Jack gripped his armrests. "Steady." The Vorax weapons hit the Thunderbolt's shields. There was a flash of light, but the ship barely shuddered. "Shields holding at 98%, Lisa reported with a grin. On the Vorax flagship, Tark stared in disbelief at his tactical display. Impossible. Their shields should have failed. The schematics showed a weakness in the modulation pattern. Science Director Elka looked pale. "They tricked us. The schematics were false." "How bad is it?" Tark demanded. "Our weapons are barely affecting their shields," a tactical officer reported. "And there's something else. Their power signature is changing. It's much stronger than our initial scan showed." Tark slammed his fist on his throne. "They've been hiding their true capabilities all along." Back on the Thunderbolt, Jack watched the Vorax fleet with calm eyes. "They've realized their mistake. Time to show them what we can really do." He nodded to Lisa. "Target their flagship's weapon systems. Fire when ready." Lisa's fingers danced across her console. Firing. The Thunderbolt's main weapons array glowed bright blue, then released a concentrated beam of energy that cut through space like a knife. It struck the Vorax flagship with precision, destroying its primary weapons array in a flash of light and debris. "Direct hit," Lisa reported. "Their main weapons are disabled." "Now the secondary ships," Jack ordered. The Thunderbolt moved with surprising speed for a vessel its size, turning to face the next target. 2 more precision strikes disabled 2 more Vorax ships. "The remaining ships are adjusting their attack pattern," Lisa warned. "They're trying to surround us." Jack nodded. "Just as we expected. Signal the Aurora and Phoenix. Time to spring the trap." From their hidden positions, 2 more Earth warships suddenly appeared, their stealth systems deactivated. They immediately opened fire on the unsuspecting Vorax fleet from behind. Caught between 3 Earth warships, the Vorax fleet fell into chaos. Some ships tried to flee, others continued fighting, but their coordination was broken. On the Vorax flagship, alarms blared as systems failed. "We're surrounded!" the tactical officer shouted. 2 more human ships appeared from nowhere. Tark's face had turned a dark shade of blue with rage and fear. How? How did they know? Elka had no answer. Nothing in her experience had prepared her for this. The Vorax had always been the technological superiors in any conflict. They had never faced an enemy that could outthink and outfight them. "Supreme Leader," Commander Dax called urgently, "our shields are failing across the fleet. 4 ships have already been disabled." Tark stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The human ships were systematically targeting weapons and engines, disabling the Vorax vessels without destroying them. "They're not even trying to kill us," he realized, aloud. "They're toying with us." "Should we surrender?" Dax asked quietly. Tark's pride rebelled at the thought, but his survival instinct was stronger. "Open a channel to the Thunderbolt." On the Thunderbolt's bridge, Jack answered the incoming transmission. Tark's face appeared on screen, no longer confident, but still defiant. "Enough, Captain Reed," Tark said. "You have made your point. We will withdraw." Jack shook his head. "Not good enough, Supreme Leader. Your fleet is disabled. You will surrender to Earth forces immediately." "And if we refuse?" Tark challenged. Jack's expression was cold. "Then we will be forced to demonstrate the true power of our weapons. So far, we've been careful not to cause unnecessary loss of life. That can change." Tark's face showed conflict, but finally he nodded. "Very well, we surrender." After the transmission ended, Lisa turned to Jack. "That was almost too easy." "This was just the battle," Jack replied. "Winning the peace will be harder." The Earth ships moved among the disabled Vorax vessels, securing them one by one. Boarding parties transferred to the Vorax flagship, led by Kate Miller. Hours later, Kate brought Commander Dax to the Thunderbolt's conference room. Jack was waiting with Dr. Gray and Mike. "Welcome aboard, Commander," Jack said. "Please sit down." Dax sat stiffly, his pride clearly wounded. "Your victory was impressive, but this isn't over. The hegemony spans many worlds." "We know," Jack replied. "Our stealth teams have visited several of them." Dax couldn't hide his shock. "Impossible. We would have detected them." Mike laughed. "Like you detected our other ships, or our true shield capabilities? Or the fact that we fed you false technical data?" Jack leaned forward. "You've built your empire on technological intimidation, Commander. But technology isn't enough. You need innovation, adaptability, and something else." "What?" Dax asked, bitterly. "Humanity," Dr. Gray answered. "Not just being human, but the quality itself. Compassion, respect for others. Things the Vorax hegemony has forgotten." Jack nodded. "Your empire is built on sand, Commander. And now, it's about to collapse." Dax's eyes widened as he finally understood the full extent of his people's defeat. It wasn't just a military loss. It was the end of everything they had built. Outside the viewport, the disabled Vorax fleet drifted against the backdrop of stars. The battle was over, but as Jack had said, the real challenge was just beginning. 1 week after the battle, the Thunderbolt led a fleet of Earth ships toward Voros Prime. Captain Jack Reed stood on the bridge, looking at the blue-green planet growing larger on the view screen. "Status of the Vorax defenses?" he asked. Lisa checked her console. "Powered down as agreed, Captain. Our ships have clear access to the planet." Jack nodded. After Supreme Leader Tark's surrender, Earth had moved quickly. With their military crippled and their leader captured, the Vorax government had little choice but to accept Earth's terms. "Any sign of resistance?" Jack asked. "None so far," Lisa replied. "The population seems calm, if confused. Most citizens have only been told there's been a change in leadership." Dr. Gray looked up from his station. "That's not surprising. Our intelligence shows most Vorax citizens know very little about their government's actions in other star systems." The comm system chimed. "Captain," Kate Miller's voice came through. "The representatives have arrived in the main hall. They're ready for you." "On my way," Jack replied. In the Thunderbolt's largest meeting room, Jack found an unusual gathering. Along with Supreme Leader Tark and Commander Dax, there were 7 other aliens, each from a different species. These were representatives of the worlds conquered by the Vorax. Ambassador Tom Williams made the introductions. "Captain Reed, these are the delegates from the liberated worlds. They've come to witness the formal dissolution of the Vorax hegemony." Jack shook hands or exchanged appropriate greetings with each delegate. Their appearances varied widely, but all shared the same look of cautious hope in their eyes. Tark sat in sullen silence, his once proud posture now slumped in defeat. Dax stood behind him, watching the proceedings with a soldier's stoicism. Jack took his position at the head of the table. 3 weeks ago, the USS Thunderbolt was sent to investigate disappeared colony ships. We found something unexpected: an empire built on technological intimidation and the subjugation of others. He looked directly at Tark. "What you didn't know was that Earth had been aware of the Vorax hegemony for much longer than you realized." Tark's head snapped up, his eyes wide with surprise. Jack continued. "Those colony ships you detected, they weren't really missing. They were bait, designed to draw your attention while our stealth teams infiltrated your worlds." "Impossible," Tark whispered. "We would have detected them." Mike, standing by the door, laughed. "Like you detected our ships hiding before the battle? Your technology isn't as perfect as you think." Jack nodded. "For 2 years, we've been studying your empire, learning your weaknesses, and making contact with the species you conquered." He gestured to the 7 alien representatives. "When you scanned the Thunderbolt, you saw exactly what we wanted you to see. Technology that seemed impossible by your standards." Dr. Gray stepped forward. "Some of what you saw was real, Earth is indeed technologically advanced, but we deliberately included sensor readings that would terrify you specifically. What do you mean? Dax asked, speaking for the first time. Dr. Gray smiled. We studied Vorax psychology and culture. You value technological superiority above all else. It's the foundation of your society. So we showed you technology that directly challenged that belief. The scan was designed to provoke exactly the reaction you had, Jack explained. Fear, followed by desperation to understand and acquire our technology. Tark's face darkened with anger. You manipulated us. Yes, Jack said simply. Just as you've manipulated and controlled 7 other species. The difference is, we did it to free them, not enslave them. One of the alien representatives, a tall being with 4 arms, spoke up. My people have been under Vorax control for 80 years. We forgot what freedom felt like until Earth contacted us. We've been sharing Earth technology with the conquered worlds for months, Jack revealed. Not weapons, but defensive systems, communications, medical advances. Things that would help them protect themselves once the hegemony fell. Tark looked stunned. The rebellions on the outer worlds, they were your doing? They were the doing of people who wanted freedom, Jack corrected. We just gave them the tools to achieve it. Ambassador Tom stepped forward and placed a document on the table. This is the Treaty of Liberation. It formally dissolves the Vorax hegemony and recognizes the independence of all conquered worlds. And if I refuse to sign? Tark challenged. Jack shrugged. Then we leave and you deal with 7 worlds that now have technology equal to your own, plus a lot of anger about generations of oppression. Tark stared at the document, then at the alien representatives whose determined faces told him everything he needed to know. With a resigned gesture he signed. A wise choice, Jack said. The terms are fair. The Vorax keep their homeworld and nearby colonies. No reparations will be demanded. In return, you will dismantle your military fleet and join the new alliance of free worlds as equals, not rulers. Tark looked up sharply. Equals? After everything you've said about us? That's the difference between Earth and the Vorax, Jack said. We believe in second chances. Your people have skills and knowledge that can benefit everyone if used for cooperation instead of conquest. After the signing ceremony, Jack found himself looking out a viewport at Voros Prime below. Commander Dax approached him cautiously. There's something I still don't understand, Dax said. If Earth knew about us for years, why wait? Why the elaborate deception? Jack considered the question. War is costly. We wanted to end the hegemony, with minimal bloodshed. And we needed to be sure all 7 conquered species could defend themselves after we left. Dax nodded slowly. And the Thunderbolt? Was it really as powerful as our scans showed? Jack smiled. In some ways, yes. In others, we exaggerated. The important thing wasn't the technology itself, but how we used it. I'm beginning to understand that, Dax admitted. For centuries, the Vorax believed superior technology guaranteed victory. You proved that strategy and preparation matter more. Not just strategy, Jack corrected. Values. Earth fights to protect freedom, not to conquer. That gives us strength that can't be measured by scans. 1 month later, Jack stood on the bridge of the Thunderbolt as it prepared to leave Vorax space. The new alliance was taking its first steps, with Earth providing guidance but not control. Course. Captain? Lisa asked. Home, Jack replied. Our work here is done. Dr. Gray looked up from his station. Not entirely done. We've received reports of another expansionist empire in the Beta Quadrant. Apparently they've noticed our activities here. Jack smiled. Have they now? Well, let them scan our ships. Let them see what happened to the last empire that threatened freedom in this galaxy. Lisa set the course and the Thunderbolt turned toward Earth. Its mission complete but its message clear. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and those who scanned their ships would indeed know they were destined for ruin if they chose the path of conquest. As the Thunderbolt entered warp, representatives from 8 worlds, including the Vorax, sat in a new council chamber, beginning the long process of building peace after generations of war. Above them, Earth ships patrolled silently, a reminder that freedom now had a powerful guardian. The stars stretched into streaks of light, and the Thunderbolt headed home, leaving behind a changed galaxy and a simple truth. Technology alone doesn't win wars. Humanity does. Jack Wilson wiped sweat from his forehead as he tightened the last bolt on the coolant pipe. The engine room of the UES Horizon hummed around him, its steady vibration a comfort after 3 years in deep space. As the ship's lead maintenance engineer, Jack knew every pipe, wire, and panel like he knew his own hands. "Engine efficiency at 97%, Lieutenant Wilson," said the ship's computer. "Optimal levels achieved." Jack smiled and put his wrench back in his tool belt. "Thanks, computer. Tell Captain Miller I fixed the coolant leak." He stood up and stretched his back. At 34, Jack wasn't old, but crawling through maintenance tunnels for hours made his muscles ache. He looked out the small viewport at the stars beyond. The Delta Quadrant was beautiful, full of stars no human had seen up close before. The Horizon's 5-year mission to explore this region had already discovered 17 new planets that might support human life. Jack was about to head to the mess hall for a late dinner when the alarm blared. "Alert! Unknown vessel approaching. All crew to battle stations." The light switched to red. Jack ran to his emergency station at the auxiliary control panel. The Horizon wasn't a warship, but its shields were strong enough to handle most space dangers. The ship suddenly rocked violently, throwing Jack against the wall. Pain shot through his shoulder. "Hull breach on Deck 3, the computer announced. "Shields at 60%. Another hit rocked the ship harder. Equipment crashed to the floor around Jack. Whatever was attacking them had weapons far stronger than the Horizon shields were designed to handle. Captain Miller's voice came over the speakers. "All crew to evacuation pods, this is not a drill. We are under attack by an unknown alien vessel. Abandoned ship." Jack started toward the door, then stopped. The main reactor was only 1 deck below. If it was damaged, the ship would explode before everyone could escape. He turned back to his control panel. "Computer, show me reactor status." The screen lit up red. The reactor cooling system was failing. Without it, they had maybe 10 minutes before explosion. Jack made his decision in a second. "Computer, route all emergency power to evacuation pod launches. I'm going to stabilize the reactor manually. Warning: manual reactor stabilization requires presence in reactor room until completion. Estimated time to stabilization: 8 minutes. Time to recommended ship evacuation: 7 minutes. "I know," Jack said, already running toward the emergency ladder that led down to the reactor level. "Just make sure everyone else gets out." The ship took another hit as Jack climbed down. He could hear the evacuation pods launching. Good. The crew was getting away. The reactor room was chaos. Sparks flew from damaged panels. Steam hissed from broken pipes. The reactor core glowed bright blue at the center, pulsing dangerously. Jack ran to the main control panel. The cooling system was failing fast. He couldn't fix it completely, but he might be able to slow the reaction enough to give the evacuation pods more time to reach safe distance. His hands flew over the controls. Reroute power here, bypass damaged systems there. The ship shook again. Another hit. "Computer, status of evacuation?" "Evacuation 65% complete. 4 minutes until minimum safe distance reached." Jack worked faster. Sweat poured down his face. The heat in the reactor room was rising. The air felt thin. Life support was failing. "Evacuation 80% complete," the computer said. "Warning: unknown entities detected boarding on Deck 2. Jack froze for a second. Boarding? The attackers weren't just trying to destroy them, they were coming aboard. No time to worry about that. Jack connected 2 emergency power cables directly to the cooling system. The reactor's dangerous pulsing slowed slightly. "Evacuation 95% complete," the computer reported. 3 minutes until minimum safe distance reached. Jack allowed himself a smile. He was going to die, but the crew would live. That was what mattered. The reactor room door slid open. Jack turned, expecting to see fellow crew members who hadn't made it to the pods. Instead, 4 tall figures stood in the doorway. They weren't human. Each was nearly 7 feet tall with gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer like metal in the emergency lights. They had 4 arms and wore black armor that covered most of their bodies. Their faces were flat with no nose, just breathing slits, and their eyes were like purple crystals. Jack backed up against the reactor controls. "Computer, who are they?" "Unknown species. No match in database." The aliens moved into the room with smooth, coordinated steps. 2 held weapons, long, curved objects that hummed with energy. The others appeared to be scanning the room with devices attached to their lower arms. "Stay back!" Jack shouted, grabbing a heavy wrench from his tool belt. It was a useless gesture. If they wanted to kill him, they could do it easily. The alien in front made a series of clicking sounds to the others. One responded with similar clicks. They seemed to be discussing something. The leader pointed at Jack, then at the reactor controls. It seemed to understand what Jack was doing. Another violent shake rocked the ship. The lights flickered. The reactor pulsed faster again. Warning: reactor critical. 2 minutes to core breach. Jack turned back to the controls. If he was going to die, he'd die trying to save his crewmates. To his surprise, one of the aliens moved forward and began working on another control panel. Its 4 hands moved with incredible speed. It wasn't trying to stop Jack, it seemed to be helping stabilize the reactor. "Evacuation 100% complete," the computer announced. "All survival pods launched." Jack felt a moment of pure relief. His friends had made it out. Now he just needed to buy them more time to get away. The alien working on the controls made a sound like a bell ringing. The leader responded, then turned to Jack. It raised one of its devices and pointed it at him. "I don't care what you do to me," Jack said, standing tall. "My crew is safe." A blue light shot from the device. Pain exploded through Jack's body. His muscles locked up. The world spun around him as he fell to the floor. Before darkness took him, Jack saw the aliens continuing to work on the reactor. They weren't trying to speed up the explosion, they were stopping it. Why would they save a ship they had just attacked? Jack woke up in darkness. His head pounded. His mouth was dry. He was lying on a hard surface that vibrated slightly beneath him. Slowly, his eyes adjusted. He was in a small room. No, a cell. Metal walls. No windows except for a small circle in what must be the door. The air smelled strange, like ozone and something sweet he couldn't identify. Jack sat up carefully. His uniform was torn and dirty, but he didn't seem to be badly hurt. Just bruises and small cuts. His tool belt was gone. He stood and walked to the small window. Through it he could see a corridor made of the same dark metal as his cell. The design was nothing like human ships. Strange symbols glowed on the walls. Jack stepped back and tried to think. The aliens had attacked the horizon. They had boarded just before it would have exploded. Then they, saved it? No, that couldn't be right. He remembered the shaking, the damage. The horizon couldn't have survived. So he was on their ship. But why take him prisoner? Why not just kill him? Jack went back to the window and pressed his face against it to see as much as possible. At the end of the corridor there was a larger window, a viewport into space. What he saw made his blood freeze. In the distance, a human colony was burning. He recognized it immediately. New Terra, one of humanity's largest settlements outside the solar system. Bright flashes lit up its night side. Attack ships, the same design that had attacked the horizon, swarmed around it like angry insects. Jack slumped against the wall. Now he understood. The aliens hadn't just happened to find the horizon. This was a coordinated attack on all of humanity's presence in this sector of space. And he was the only human who knew it was happening. A sound at the door made Jack stand quickly. It slid open, revealing 2 of the 4-armed aliens. One held a weapon pointed at Jack. The other carried what looked like a tray. The unarmed alien set the tray on the floor and backed out. The door slid closed again. On the tray was a container of clear liquid, water, and something that might be food, a purple-gray paste. Jack didn't touch it. Instead, he sat on the hard shelf that served as a bed and stared at the door. He wasn't supposed to have survived the attack on the horizon. He was supposed to have died with his ship. But now, as the only witness to the beginning of what looked like a war, Jack realized he might be humanity's only hope. He just had to figure out how to escape from an alien warship and warn Earth before it was too late. Jack spent 3 days in his cell, marking time by the meals the aliens brought him. He tried to talk to them each time the door opened, but they never responded. They just set down the food and left. The strange purple paste tasted like salted oatmeal. The clear liquid was water with a hint of something sweet. Jack ate and drank carefully at first, worried about poison, but soon realized he had no choice. He needed to stay alive. On the 4th day, something changed. When the door opened, a single alien stood there. This one was taller than the others, with dark red markings on its armor. 4 bright metal bands wrapped around its upper arms. "Human," it said in a deep, grinding voice. Jack jumped to his feet in surprise. "You speak English?" The alien made a sound like stones rubbing together. A laugh, maybe. "We learn your languages quickly, simple patterns." It stepped aside and motioned with one of its 4 arms. "Come. Commander wants to see you." Jack hesitated but then walked through the door. 2 guards waited in the hallway, both holding the curved energy weapons he'd seen before. "What's your name?" Jack asked the red-marked alien as they walked. "Krell," it said. "I am 2nd battle leader of this ship. I'm Lieutenant Jack Wilson. Engineering Division, UES Horizon." "We know," Krell said. "Your ship's data was easy to take." They walked through corridors that curved in strange ways. Jack tried to memorize their path, but it was too confusing. Everything on the alien ship was built at slightly different angles than what humans would use. The walls were covered with the same glowing symbols he'd seen from his cell. Now that he was closer, Jack noticed they changed constantly, pulsing with different colors. "Those are information displays?" Jack asked, pointing. Krell looked at him with its purple crystal eyes. "Yes. You understand technology well?" "I'm an engineer," Jack said. "I fix things." "Interesting. You stayed on your dying ship to fix it while others escaped." Jack was surprised they knew that. "Yes, to give my crew time to get away." Krell made a sound like metal bending. "That is why Commander Drax wants to see you. Such behavior is respected among Vex. So that's what they called themselves. Vex." They reached a large door that slid open at their approach. Inside was a circular room with a raised platform in the center. On the platform stood the largest Vex Jack had seen yet. It wore black armor, with gold designs, and had 6 arms instead of 4. "Commander Drax," Krell said, lowering its head. "The human engineer." Drax turned slowly. Its crystal eyes were deep blue instead of purple. "Human," Drax said, its voice even deeper than Krell's. "You are far from your territory." Jack stood straight, trying to look confident. "We were on a peaceful mission of exploration. You attacked us without warning." "You entered Vex space," Drax said simply, as if that explained everything. "But you interest me. Your ship's records show you volunteered to die so others could live." "That's what we do," Jack said. "We protect each other." "Vex do this also," Drax said. "For the good of all Vex." Jack pointed toward the viewport where he could still see flashes around the distant colony. "Is attacking peaceful settlements for the good of all Vex?" Drax made the stone-grinding laugh sound. "Peaceful? Your kind spread like disease across stars. Taking, building, changing, we watched for 20 of your years. Each new human settlement pushes closer to Vex space. Now you cross our borders." "We didn't know," Jack said. "We've never even heard of the Vex before." "Ignorance is not excuse," Drax said, "but ignorance can be fixed. That is why you live." The commander moved closer to Jack. "You will teach us about humans. How you think. How you fight. Then we will decide if your kind can exist near Vex space. Jack felt cold fear in his stomach. They wanted him to help them understand humanity's weaknesses. And if I refuse? Drax's crystal eyes flashed. Then you have no value. But I think you are too smart to refuse. Jack needed time to think, to plan, to find a way to warn Earth. Playing along might be his only chance. What do you want to know? He asked. Drax seemed pleased. Good. First, you will see our ship. Understand Vex power. Then you will know why resistance is pointless. Over the next few days, Krell showed Jack parts of the massive Vex warship, always under guard, always with limited access. But Jack saw enough to understand they were in serious trouble. The Vex ship was huge, nearly a mile long, with weapons that could destroy small moons. Its engines used some kind of advanced fusion technology that Jack had never seen before. But most importantly, Jack learned the Vex had 20 more ships, just like this one, all heading toward human space. He tried to learn more during each tour, asking careful questions that wouldn't raise suspicion. How do you cool your power core? He asked Krell one day as they walked past a humming wall of machinery. Liquid metal channels heat to outer hull, Krell explained. Very efficient. Jack nodded, storing the information away. Our systems use water under pressure. Not as good, but simpler. Krell seemed interested in these exchanges. Jack realized the second battle leader was studying him as much as he was studying the ship. On the 7th day, Krell took Jack to a new area, engineering. Here, Vex with special green markings on their armor worked on complex machines. Jack tried not to show too much interest, but his engineer's mind was racing, taking in everything. The main power distribution panel was similar to human designs, just more advanced. The coolant system ran through the center of the ship, with emergency bypass valves at regular intervals. Most importantly, Jack noticed the reactor was directly connected to the weapon systems, no safety buffers, no isolation circuits. A design flaw, or just a different approach? As they walked back to his cell, Jack passed a room where several Vex were gathered around what looked like a human woman. She was unconscious on a table with machines scanning her body. Who's that? Jack asked, stopping suddenly. Krell pulled him along. New specimen. Captured from small outpost. Is she alive? For now, if useful, stays alive. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. The woman's face kept appearing in his mind. Another human here on this ship of nightmares. Was she the only other survivor? The next morning, instead of Krell, Commander Drax came to Jack's cell. Your knowledge of engineering is impressive, Drax said. You understand our systems quickly. Jack shrugged. Machines follow rules. Doesn't matter who built them. Indeed. Drax studied him. You will work with our engineers now. Help improve efficiency. This was what Jack had been waiting for. Access to ship systems, less security, a chance to do something. What about the other human? Jack asked. Drax's eyes flashed. Female scientist, studies communication, not your concern. Could I talk to her? It's been a long time since I spoke to another human. The commander was silent for a moment. Perhaps, if you prove useful. As Drax turned to leave, Jack asked one more question. Where are we going? What's our destination? Drax looked back at him with those cold, blue crystal eyes. Your Mars colony. Biggest human settlement outside Earth. Good place to demonstrate what happens to those who enter Vex space. The door closed, leaving Jack alone with this terrifying knowledge. Mars colony had 15 million people. The Vex planned to kill them all as a warning. He had to do something. But what could one human do against a warship of advanced aliens? Jack sat on his hard bed and thought about the ship's systems, about the woman scientist, about Mars colony, and its millions of innocent people. There had to be a way, some weakness in the Vex ship, some plan he could make. He wasn't meant to survive the attack on the horizon, but he had. And now, the fate of millions might depend on what he did next. Jack lay back and closed his eyes, going through everything he'd learned about the Vex ship's systems in his mind. The direct connection between the reactor and weapons, the coolant system layout, the communication array he'd glimpsed during one tour. Slowly, an idea began to form, a dangerous, desperate idea, but maybe, just maybe, it might work. Jack's new job in the engineering section of the Vex ship started the next day. 2 guards took him from his cell to a large room filled with humming machines. 5 Vex engineers with green markings worked there, checking screens and adjusting controls. "Human will work here," one guard told the chief engineer, a Vex with extra green marks on all 4 arms. "Commander's orders." The chief engineer looked at Jack with what seemed like doubt in its crystal eyes. "Can it understand our systems?" "I can," Jack said. "And I have a name. Jack Wilson." The chief engineer made the stone-grinding sound that Jack now knew was Vex laughter. "I am Tekla, first engineer. You will assist with efficiency improvements." Jack was given a small work area with a screen showing ship systems. The Vex language was strange, full of symbols that changed shape, depending on their meaning, but Jack was starting to understand the basic patterns. Technical information was easier to figure out than conversation. For 3 days, Jack worked on small problems. He found ways to improve power flow in non-critical systems. Nothing that would help the Vex weapons or engines, but enough to prove he was useful. Tekla seemed impressed. "You understand well for a human," the chief engineer said on the 3rd day. "Perhaps your species is not as primitive as we thought. We just think differently," Jack said carefully. "Sometimes a different view finds solutions others miss." That night, back in his cell, Jack was surprised when the door opened after dinner. Krell stood there. "Come," the second battle leader said. "Commander has reward for your good work." Jack followed Krell through the ship's twisted corridors until they reached a new section. Krell stopped at a door and opened it. Inside was a small room similar to Jack's cell, but with 2 beds instead of 1. On the second bed sat the human woman Jack had seen before. She looked up as the door opened. Her eyes widened when she saw Jack. "Another human?" she said, standing quickly. She was tall and thin with short brown hair. A small scar crossed her left eyebrow. "Talking time," Krell said. 1 hour, then guards return." The door closed, leaving Jack alone with the woman. "I'm Lieutenant Jack Wilson, Engineering Division, UES Horizon," he said quickly. "Who are you?" "Dr. Anna Reed, Xenobiology Research Station on Outpost 7, she replied. "They attacked without warning 3 weeks ago, killed everyone else." Jack nodded. "Same with my ship. I only survived because I stayed behind to stabilize the reactor during evacuation." Anna sat back down on her bed. "Why are they keeping us alive?" "They want to learn about humans before they decide if we're worth letting live," Jack said grimly. "I've been helping in engineering to gain their trust." Anna's eyes narrowed. "You're helping them? They destroyed my entire research team." "I'm helping them with small things to learn about their ship," Jack whispered, moving closer. "I think there might be a way to stop them before they reach Mars." Anna's anger changed to interest. "Mars? That's their target?" Jack nodded. 15 million people. They want to make an example of what happens when a species enters Vex space. He lowered his voice even more. "I need to know. What have they had you doing?" "Analyzing human communication patterns," Anna said quietly. "They're trying to understand our distress signals, our military codes. I've been giving them old, outdated information, but I don't know how long I can keep that up." Jack took a deep breath. "I think we might be able to work together on something, but it's dangerous. We'll probably die." Anna gave a small, sad smile. "I've been dead since they took me. What's your plan?" Jack glanced at the door to make sure no guards were watching through the small window. "The Vex ship has a design flaw. Their reactor connects directly to their weapon systems with no safety buffers." "And?" Anna asked. "If someone could overload the coolant system while the weapons are firing at full power, the feedback would cause a chain reaction. The whole ship would explode." Anna thought for a moment. "You can do this from engineering?" Jack shook his head. Not alone. I need access to the main coolant control, but it's in a restricted area. And even if I got there, I'd need at least 15 minutes uninterrupted to reroute everything. The second they notice, they'll stop me. So, you need a distraction, Anna said. More than that, Jack replied. I need someone to send a warning to Mars. Tell them about the Vex fleet, their weapons, their weaknesses. Anna's eyes lit up. I'm in the communications section. They've been having me analyze human signals, but the equipment works both ways. If I could get access during an emergency. Exactly, Jack said. But we need that emergency first. They spent the next half hour planning. The Vex ship would reach Mars in just over 2 weeks. They needed to act before then, when the ship was still far enough away that the warning would give Mars time to prepare. There's an asteroid field between here and Mars, Anna said. They'll need to drop out of faster-than-light travel to navigate it safely. That's when ship systems will be under most stress. Jack nodded excitedly. Perfect. During asteroid navigation, power fluctuations would be normal. They won't notice my changes to the coolant system right away. And communication will be disrupted by the asteroids, which gives you cover for sending a message. But how do I get to the communication array? And how do you get to the main coolant control? Anna asked. We're always under guard, Jack thought for a moment. I've been gaining Tekla's trust. A few more days of good work and I might get more access. As for you, Anna finished his thought. During an emergency, security will be lighter. I could maybe overpower a single guard if I surprise them. The door suddenly opened. Krell stood there. Time finished. Jack stood up. Thank you for letting us talk, he said respectfully. It helps our work to share human perspectives. Krell seemed pleased. Commander thinks keeping you functional is important. May allow more talking time. As Jack was led back to his cell, his mind raced. Their plan had huge risks, but it was the only chance to save Mars. Now he needed to gain even more trust from the Vex engineers. Over the next 5 days, Jack worked, harder than ever. He found a way to improve the ship's life support efficiency by 8%. Not a critical system, but enough to impress Tekla. Your work good, the chief engineer told him. Strange methods, but results acceptable. Thank you, Jack said. I've been studying your coolant systems. The design is fascinating. Tekla's crystal eyes brightened with what Jack had learned was pride. Most advanced in Vex fleet. My design improvements. Jack nodded enthusiastically. I noticed the connection points near Section 12 have unusual flow patterns. Is that intentional? Yes. Increases cooling efficiency during weapons fire, Tekla explained, bringing up the system on a large screen. See? Coolant diverts to weapons during firing sequence. Jack tried not to show his excitement. Tekla was showing him exactly what he needed to see. Brilliant. And the emergency controls? In case of coolant leak? Main control here. Tekla pointed to a section on the ship's diagram. Can reroute all coolant from this station. Backup systems here, here, and here. Jack memorized the locations. Section 42. Just 2 corridors from the main engineering room. He now knew exactly where he needed to go. That night, Jack lay awake in his cell, running through the plan again and again. Tomorrow he would ask Krell for another meeting with Anna to finalize everything. The ship's systems showed they would reach the asteroid field in 3 days. That was when they would make their move. As he drifted to sleep, Jack thought about his crewmates from the horizon. He hoped some of the evacuation pods had reached safety. He hoped they had warned Earth about the Vex. Most of all, he hoped that what he and Anna were about to attempt would work. If not, millions would die, and humanity would face an enemy they weren't prepared for. Jack wasn't just an engineer anymore. He was a soldier in a war that had started without warning, a war that might end before most humans even knew it had begun. He wasn't meant to survive the attack on his ship, but he had. Now he had to make that survival mean something. Asteroid field approaching, announced the ship's system in the harsh clicking language of the Vex. All crew prepare for navigation sequence. Jack was at his workstation in engineering when the announcement came. His heart began to beat faster. Today was the day. He had met with Anna one more time 2 days ago. They had gone over their plan again, checking for any problems they might have missed. Everything was ready. Human, called Tekla from across the engineering room. Monitor coolant, pressure during asteroid field. Alert if levels change. Yes, Tekla, Jack replied, trying to sound normal. This was exactly what he had hoped for, a direct assignment to watch the coolant systems. The ship shuddered slightly as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Outside, the asteroid field waited. Thousands of rocks ranging from car-sized to mountain-sized, all floating in the darkness of space. Shields at maximum, ordered Commander Drax's voice over the ship's communication system. Weapons ready. Begin navigation. Jack watched as power levels across the ship changed. Shields drew more energy. Engines switched to precise maneuvering mode. The weapon systems powered up to destroy any asteroids too large to avoid. Tekla moved to the main control panel, all 4 arms working quickly to adjust systems. The other engineers were equally busy at their stations. Nobody was watching Jack. He pressed a sequence on his control panel that he had prepared yesterday, a small program hidden in the system diagnostics. It would show normal readings at his station while he was gone. Jack glanced around one more time, then slipped away from his work area and through the small maintenance door at the back of the engineering room. The corridor beyond was empty. All crew were at their stations for asteroid navigation. Jack moved quickly but quietly. He had memorized the path to Section 42, where the main coolant control was located. Left at the first junction, right at the second through the narrow passage that connected the crew areas. The ship shook as it maneuvered around a large asteroid. Alarms sounded briefly but then stopped. Normal procedure, Jack hoped. He reached Section 42 without seeing any Vex. The door was locked, but Jack had prepared for this too. During his work in engineering, he had noticed the Vex used simple code patterns for door access. He had memorized Tekla's code from watching the chief engineer. Jack entered the code. The door slid open. The coolant control room was small and empty. A circular panel dominated the center, with tubes running from it into the walls, floor, and ceiling. This was the heart of the ship's cooling system. Jack got to work immediately. He knew he had 15 minutes at most before someone noticed. He was missing. First, he accessed the main control panel. The Vex system was complex, but Jack had studied it carefully during his time in engineering. He began rerouting the coolant flows, creating a pattern that would look normal at first but would fail catastrophically when the weapons fired at full power. The ship shook again, harder this time. A direct hit from an asteroid, or maybe they had fired the weapons to destroy one in their path. Jack stumbled but kept working. Warning, said the ship's system in Vex language. Unusual power fluctuations in Section 38. Jack froze. Section 38. That was where the communication array was located. Anna must be making her move. He worked faster. The coolant rerouting was halfway done. He needed more time. Anna Reed had been waiting for the asteroid field. When the first shudder ran through the ship, she knew it was time. The Vex guard watching her work at the communication array was distracted, looking at the alert signals flashing on the wall. Anna had noticed that this particular guard was younger than the others, its crystal eyes a lighter shade of purple. Less experienced, she hoped. She stood up suddenly. I need to check the signal amplifier, she said, pointing to a panel on the far side of the room. The guard made a noise of annoyance but nodded. The Vex wanted her to keep working during the asteroid field passage, to analyze how human ships communicated during navigation challenges. Anna walked to the panel, her heart pounding. Behind it was a heavy metal tool she had hidden 3 days ago when the guard had been called away briefly for a ship-wide security check. She opened the panel, grabbed the tool, and turned in one smooth motion. The guard was looking at the asteroid field through the viewport, its back to her. Anna didn't hesitate. She swung the tool with all her strength at the back of the guard's head, right where she had noticed a gap in its armor. The guard dropped without a sound. Anna rushed to the communication array. She had very little time. Once she sent a message to Mars, the Vex would know something was wrong. She quickly adjusted the array to human emergency frequencies. Mars Colony monitored these channels constantly. Then she began recording. Emergency. Alert to Mars Colony. This is Dr. Anna Reed, sole survivor of Outpost 7. The research station was destroyed by alien attackers called the Vex. They are heading towards Mars with a fleet of warships. Their weapons can penetrate our strongest shields. They plan to destroy the colony as a warning to humanity. She paused, thinking of what else Mars needed to know. The Vex ships have a critical weakness. Their reactor connects directly to their weapon systems with no safety buffers. Concentrated fire on their weapon ports during full firing sequences could trigger a chain reaction. I repeat, target weapon ports when they're firing. The ship shook again. Anna nearly fell, but caught herself on the edge of the console. This message sent by Lieutenant Jack Wilson of UES Horizon and Dr. Anna Reed of Outpost 7. We are attempting to disable the lead ship from within. Don't wait for us. Prepare defenses immediately. 20 ships approaching, estimated arrival. A loud alarm blared through the ship. Anna's message had been detected. She quickly pressed the transmit button. The message began streaming out into space aimed at Mars. Anna didn't know if it would reach them. The asteroid field might block or distort the signal, but it was their only chance. The door to the communication room slid open. 2 Vex security guards stood there, weapons raised. Anna raised her hand slowly. It's too late, she said. Mars knows you're coming now. Jack heard the alarm and knew what it meant. Anna had been discovered. The ship's security would be on high alert now. He had finished about 80% of the coolant rerouting. Not enough to guarantee destruction of the ship, but maybe enough to cripple it if he could complete the most critical connections. The door to the coolant control room slid open behind him. Jack didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Human, said Commander Drax's deep voice. You disappoint me. Jack kept working, his fingers flying over the control panel. Just a few more adjustments. Step away from the controls, Drax ordered. Now. Jack ignored him, completing one more critical connection. Then something hot struck his back. Pain exploded through his body as he fell to the floor. Bring the female human, Drax said to someone Jack couldn't see. They will. Both answer for this betrayal. Jack tried to stand but couldn't. The weapon had damaged something in his spine. He could barely move his legs. 2 guards dragged Anna into the room. She had a cut on her forehead, but her eyes were clear and defiant. Did it send? Jack whispered, when they dropped her beside him. Anna nodded slightly. Full message. Don't know if it got through the asteroids. Enough talking, Drax said. You have damaged ship systems during dangerous navigation. You have sent unauthorized communications. You have attacked Vex crew. Such actions have only one punishment. The commander raised a weapon, a short, curved blade that glowed with energy. Wait, came another voice. Krell entered the coolant control room. Commander, what have the humans done? Sabotage, Drax said. Betrayal, after we showed mercy. Krell looked at Jack, crystal eyes showing what might have been disappointment. Is this true, Jack Wilson? Jack found enough strength to raise his head. You're going to kill 15 million innocent people. What would you have done in my place? The second battle leader was silent for a moment. Then, Commander, the human has logic. They protect their kind as we protect ours. Irrelevant, Drax snapped. They must be eliminated as examples. The ship suddenly shook violently, much harder than before. Warning alarms blared from every panel in the room. Large asteroid approaching, announced the ship's system. Collision imminent. All weapons to maximum power. Jack felt a surge of hope. This was exactly what he needed. The weapons firing at full power while his sabotaged coolant system was active. Take the humans to the bridge, Drax ordered. They will watch their colony's destruction before they die. As the guards lifted, Jack and Anna, the ship's weapons fired, the massive energy discharge rumbling through the vessel, and deep within the coolant system, Jack's sabotage began to work. Pressure built where it shouldn't. Heat increased in systems that couldn't handle it. Power surged through connections never meant to carry such loads. The first explosion was small, just a coolant pipe bursting in Section 40. The second, in engineering, was larger. By the third explosion, it was already too late for the Vex ship. "What is happening?" Commander Drax demanded as another explosion rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across every panel in the coolant control room. Alarms blared in the harsh Vex language, announcing system failures throughout the vessel. Coolant. System failure in sections 38 through 42, reported a frantic engineer over the communication system. Weapon systems overheating. Reactor pressure rising beyond safe levels. Drax turned to Jack, who was still on the floor, barely able to move from his injury. The commander's crystal eyes flashed with rage. "What have you done, human?" he growled. Despite his pain, Jack managed a small smile. "I'm an engineer. I fixed your ship, just not the way you wanted." Another explosion, larger than the ones before, shook the entire vessel. The lights flickered and died, replaced by dim emergency lighting that cast long shadows across the room. "Commander!" Krell shouted over the noise. "We must evacuate. Reactor. Containment failing." Drax stood frozen for a moment, crystal eyes fixed on Jack. Then he seemed to make a decision. "Evacuate all essential personnel to secondary vessels," he ordered. "The human female comes with us as specimen." "What about this one?" Krell asked, pointing at Jack. Drax looked down at the injured human engineer. "Leave him. His damage to our ship has earned him the right to die with it." The guards picked up Anna, who struggled against their grip. "Jack," she called out. "I won't leave you." "Go," Jack shouted back. "Live. Make sure Mars is ready." Krell hesitated, looking down at Jack. The second battle leader seemed conflicted. "He fought well for his people," Krell said quietly. "A warrior's death." Then they were gone, dragging Anna with them. Jack was alone in the coolant control room as the ship died around him. He tried to pull himself up using the control panel, but his legs wouldn't support him. The weapon had damaged something in his spine. He wasn't going anywhere. "Ship-wide evacuation ordered," announced the Vex system. "Reactor breach imminent. Estimated time to critical failure, 12 minutes. Jack looked around the room. He had done it. The ship was going to explode. Anna had sent the warning to Mars. Even if the Vex took her with them, humanity would be ready when the fleet arrived. But 12 minutes was a long time to wait for death. With great effort, Jack pulled himself across the floor toward the door. Maybe he could at least see what was happening. Maybe there was still something he could do. The corridor outside was in chaos. Emergency lights flashed. Steam hissed from broken pipes. Occasional explosions still rocked the ship as systems failed. But no Vex remained in this section. They had all evacuated. Jack dragged himself along using only his arms. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew he didn't want to die in that small room. After several minutes of painful crawling, he reached a viewport. Outside, he could see small ships launching from the Vex vessel, escape pods carrying the crew to safety. In the distance, the asteroid field loomed, its massive rocks drifting slowly through the darkness of space. "Reactor. Containment at 20%, the ship's system announced. Critical failure in 8 minutes. 8 minutes to live." Jack leaned against the viewport wall, exhausted from his efforts. He had done everything he could. Now all he could do was wait. Then something caught his eye. A different kind of ship launching from the lower section of the Vex vessel. It wasn't a Vex escape pod. It was sleeker, smaller. Jack recognized it immediately. It was a human shuttle. The Vex must have captured it from one of the outposts they destroyed, and now someone was using it to escape. A new energy filled Jack. If he could reach that shuttle bay, maybe he could find another human vessel. Maybe he could escape too. It was probably impossible. He could barely move. The ship was falling apart, around him. He had only 8 minutes before everything exploded, but Jack Wilson had never believed in giving up. With renewed determination, he began dragging himself toward where he thought the shuttle bay might be. Each movement sent pain shooting through his body, but he kept going. Left at a junction, right at another, following signs in the Vex language that he had learned to read during his time on the ship. Reactor containment at 10%, announced the system. Critical failure in 5 minutes. Jack kept moving. Another explosion rocked the ship, throwing him against a wall. Something fell from the ceiling, narrowly missing his head. The air was getting hotter as cooling systems failed throughout the vessel. Finally, he reached a large door marked with VEX symbols for external vessels. The shuttle bay. The door was partially open, jammed during the evacuation. Jack squeezed through the gap and into the massive chamber beyond. Most of the bay was empty. The VEX had taken their escape vessels. But in one corner, Jack saw what he was looking for, another human shuttle. Smaller than the one he had seen launching, but still intact. With the last of his strength, Jack pulled himself toward it. The shuttle's door was open. Just a few more meters. Reactor containment at 5%, the system announced, its mechanical voice now distorted by damage. Critical failure in 2 minutes. Jack reached the shuttle and pulled himself inside. The controls were standard human design, similar to what he had used on the Horizon. His hands moved automatically, powering up systems, preparing for launch. The shuttle bay doors were already open from previous launches. Jack could see space beyond. Freedom, if he could reach it in time. Reactor containment failure, said the VEX system. Critical explosion imminent. Jack fired the shuttle's engines. The small vessel lifted off the bay floor and shot toward the open doors. Behind him, the VEX ship began to break apart as the damaged reactor finally gave way. The shuttle cleared the bay doors just as the first major explosion tore through the VEX vessel. The blast wave caught the small craft, sending it spinning out of control into the asteroid field. Jack fought with the controls, trying to stabilize the shuttle as pieces of the exploding VEX ship flew past him. The massive warship was coming, apart in a series of spectacular explosions, lighting up space like a newborn star. A proximity alarm blared. A large asteroid was directly in his path. Jack tried to steer around it, but the shuttle's controls were sluggish from damage. At the last moment, the asteroid moved, or seemed to. It took Jack a second to realize it wasn't an asteroid at all. It was a ship, a human ship. Unidentified shuttle, this is UES Defender, came a voice over the communication system. Do you require assistance? Jack could hardly believe what he was hearing. A human military vessel. They must have received Anna's warning and sent a scout ship to investigate. This is Lieutenant Jack Wilson, formerly of UES Horizon, he replied, his voice weak but clear. I require immediate assistance and have critical intelligence about an alien threat. Wilson? From the Horizon? The voice sounded shocked. You're alive? Stand by for emergency docking. Medical team is preparing to receive you. As the UES Defender's docking bay opened to receive his damaged shuttle, Jack looked back at the remains of the VEX warship. It was now just scattered debris floating among the asteroids. He thought of Anna, taken by the fleeing VEX. He would find her. Somehow he would make sure she was rescued. But for now he had done what seemed impossible. He had survived. He had destroyed the enemy ship. And he had brought humanity the warning it needed. Jack Wilson wasn't meant to survive the attack on the Horizon. But because he had, millions of lives would be saved. As his shuttle was guided into the Defender's bay, Jack finally allowed himself to close his eyes. For the first time since the Horizon was attacked, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. Mars would be ready.